at the College of Business here at MSU-Denver. And I like to normally start by asking my students a few questions. And some of those questions include, what is the purpose of business? What is the purpose of life? And then I ask, do you see an alignment between the purpose of business and the purpose of life? And that's when they get stuck. That's when I get stuck. Because you see, I think we only know one answer as it relates to the purpose of business. And that's to make money. Maybe to make a lot of money. But you see, that's a problem. Because if we want to find an alignment between the purpose of business and the purpose of life, we have to go back to maybe something Malcolm Forbes once said. He who dies with the most toys wins. But today, most of you want something more from business. Society and the markets will not applaud a company that simply makes money. As a matter of fact, businesses are trying to resolve this. In August of 2019, the Business Roundtable came up with a statement of purpose for corporations. And in that statement, they said, stakeholders have to be given the same level of priority in crafting strategy as shareholders. Some CEOs actually took it a step further and said the pursuit of purpose should be the overarching pursuit of every company, superseding even the pursuit of short-term profits. Now some turned around and said, well, this sounds like corporate social responsibility, CSR on steroids. And this is a problem, because if it detracts a business's focus, they'll be weaker in the marketplace. We know that's not true. And all we have to do is take a look at millennials for confirmation of that. You see, a recent survey of millennials said that 8 out of 10 of you look to purpose in making a decision regarding where to work and where to shop. Purpose doesn't make a company weaker. It makes it stronger because it allows the company to align with the community behind noble causes. And what we're finding out is some companies create audacious purpose. And what that is telling someone about your audacious purpose and they, how in the world can you even make that work? Here's what we find. Companies that have an audacious purpose not only are stronger, but they sometimes, if the purpose is authentic, create transformational power. I'd like to take a few minutes and talk about a company that has audacious purpose. They're Blue Star Recyclers. They take old computers and recycle them so they don't get thrown into landfills. That's a good thing. But their audacious purpose is to provide meaningful work for people with autism spectrum disorder. Autism. And like most companies that have an audacious purpose, this was not something that they planned for. This is something that they discovered. The discovery occurred in 2008 when founder Bill Moore started to work for a day facility to provide services for people with disabilities, particularly cognitive disabilities. And to hear Bill say it, this facility was safe and it was clean. But it wasn't very happy. And there wasn't a lot of hope. One day early in his tenure, Bill was walking down the hall and he saw way in the corner 4 guys. And what he found as he watched those guys taking apart computers in the back, where they were really, really good at it. In fact, they were so good that he turned around and he said, "Who trained you?" And they looked up at him and said, "Well, no one trained us. This just seems like the right way to do it." You see, those guys had autism. And the type of autism that they had was such that they could visualize in 3 dimensions the thing they were looking at. And so they were looking at it and twisting it around in his mind. And then they found which component to take off next. That night, Bill went home and wrote a business plan for an e-waste recycler to get those guys out of that day program. And in 2009, Blue Star Recyclers was born. Almost immediately, Bill realized this is a tough business. You see, revenue for e-waste recyclers comes in two parts. The first part, 2/3 of it, is taking precious metals out of the computer and selling them on the commodity market. The second part is to charge people money to have their computers recycled. Tight margins, customers that are not terribly happy at spending money to get rid of their junk. Almost immediately, Bill saw that his company was in trouble. Now, for most businesses, when your company is in trouble, the solution is simple. Cut your losses, close your doors, write it off to experience. On to the next. But you see, if you have an audacious purpose, there's a tragedy associated with closing your company. If he closed that company, he would, at the end of the day, send those people back to the daycare program. And that was something he couldn't do. So the first transformation of Blue Star was to become a nonprofit, which they did in 2011. All of a sudden now, look at donations and grants to help him keep the lights on, the doors open. And Blue Star survived. In 2014, Blue Star celebrated their 5th anniversary. They had a big party and this really cool cake that you've already seen. And in 2015, the commodity market crashed. And once again, Blue Star was faced with an existential threat. Bill's boards all immediately said, raise your rates. And Bill was resistant because he already charged some of the highest rates in the region. And finally, when Blue Star's life could be measured in weeks, he had no choice. He raised the rates. He let his customers know that these rates would increase by as much as 40%. And then he stopped and he waited. And he didn't lose a customer. In fact, his customers were excited to help. They would call up and say, Bill, we got a load of stuff for you guys to recycle. Get your guys down here. And at that time, Bill realized purpose creates value. Value that markets will reward. So what's it like to work at Blue Star? Well, here's some metrics for you. Productivity, 90%. Industry average, 50%. Employee turnover, 0. Industry average, 6 to 8 times the total of the company. They very rarely call in sick, unless they're really sick. And 0 days lost due to workplace accidents. People that come to work hard, work carefully. Who wouldn't want a labor force like that? But that's not really what it's like to work at Blue Star. To work at Blue Star means having a reason to get up in the morning. It means working really, really hard with people you like and getting paid for it. And sometimes it means being recognized for doing a great job. To be included in a community that they had been excluded from simply because they didn't fit the employee profile. That's what it's like to work at Blue Star. And it's not just those people with autism and other disabilities that are impacted by it. Everybody, from Bill down to everyone on the floor, is transformed by the audacious purpose of Blue Star. So what is the purpose of business? Well, if we pay attention to what Blue Star is saying, the purpose of business is to be transformational. To keep in mind that whenever the door is open, you are going to change your workers, you're going to change your customers, you're going to change your community. But here's the problem. Businesses aren't people. If we expect businesses to be transformational, we have to be transformational. We have to operationalize things like what Robert Kennedy once said. Dream things that never were and say, why not? And then ask, how can we do it? And then ask, when can it get done? You know, I never ask Bill those questions I ask my students. I don't need to. I know what he would tell me. I know he would tell me that based upon what I see him do, based upon what I hear him talk about regarding where Blue Star is. And I really know what his answer would be when he talks about the future. You see, there's one transformation left for Blue Star. And that is sometime in the future, the near future, Blue Star is going to be a B corporation with employee ownership. From unemployable to employed to owners. The audacious purpose. The audacious purpose reaching full culmination. So I got a few seconds left. Let's go on an imagination, shall we? Let's imagine that Blue Star is not an outlier, but the norm. Let's imagine that it's easy to find the alignment between purpose and business and purpose of life. Let's imagine how you would feel if you saw that alignment. How would you feel as a worker, as an employee? How would you feel as a supervisor? How would you feel as a customer? How would you feel as a neighbor? How would you feel as an owner? And here's the interesting thing. We don't have to imagine it. Not at all. All we have to do is reimagine the purpose of business. Thank you.